Welcome back, guys. Vintage Hot Wheels collectors may thoroughly enjoy this particular video, and so will 55 and 57 Chevy Bel Air fans, as I'm looking at a whole bunch of very rare and interesting variations and castings that have been released through the last 40 years from Hot Wheels. These are just a few examples that have recently entered my collection, so we're going to look at them all a little closer, as well as a recap on what's going on in the Hot Wheels room, because I have missed a couple videos this past week, and I do apologize for that. So let's just take a look at what's been going on in the Hot Wheels room this past week in lieu of videos. Was getting ready with springtime in the air, a lot of household chores coming out, so I have unfortunately missed one of my Hot Wheel Blue Card videos, weekly Blue Card videos. Those are still continuing, so apologies. There will be a new video for Monday, continuing on in the Blue Card Hot Wheels series. And for those interested in things other than just my vintage Hot Wheel collections, I have been putting together and completing some of my more recent 2020 Hot Wheels premium collections. So we're going to be doing a review on some of those shortly, as well as some of my more complete collections of the past. For instance, the Hot Ones series is one I'd like to revisit, as there's a new wave of those cars coming out for 2020. And here we're just looking at the total Hot Wheels room in its current state. And as you can see, not much going on other than a review on the table here and a lot of sorting. So mostly the blue card sorting. Still getting those videos all figured out, making sure I have all the variations that I possibly can get to show you guys as we go through those. But let's continue on with this current video. Back to the review table here to look at some very nice and hard to find 55 and 57 Chevys. The first of these Chevy Bel Airs we are going to look at today are the 55 Chevy castings. I've also got the 57 Chevy castings that we're going to be following these ones that we're looking at. But the 55 Chevy that you see here on the right is from a cereal box promotion that I have been looking for nearly 10 years. This Tampo configuration is quite rare, whereas the much more common orange bow tie Tampo versus the yellow bow tie Tampo with the black versus blue flame, this one's a lot more common, worth around $10 to $20 in mint condition such as this one. This car here I had to spend closer to $200 for Canadian by the time it was done being shipped and imported into my country. So, an expensive car to add to the collection, but like I said, one that's been on my hit list for a long time. Very excited to add this car to my collection, and just a little starting point for the 55 Chevy. But before we get into that, let's look at these stellar condition 55 Chevys, 55 Chevy Fever. And the Scorcher names do have some custom names for these. I can't remember what it is for this one right off the top of my head, but I just brought that one out to show and share the two different models that were released in 1980. This yellow version and this kind of burgundy version. I already had this car. It's just that it sold for a fairly reasonable price, around $80 US to me. Whereas the previous mint loose one I spent nearly $250 US for. This is a very rare car, as is the yellow version. But it took me a long time to add this one to my collection. I think it was like 9 years I was looking for this car. And, of course, I think I was trying to get these at a better price than I ended up paying, but at this point now I've got these two very nice magenta versions. But interestingly, what I could see from the photo was that the version that I've just added to my collection on the left here has a darker magenta paint job than this first one that I have, which has a much shinier, kind of brighter red magenta. So probably not really a variation, but something of note, so I can still display both these cars on my wall where they deserve to be displayed. Now, of course, these are the Scorchers, so they're rollback cars. And this is what the base of them looks like in mint condition. You can see often the very bottom is the part that gets all scratched up on these cars when played with. And, of course, the rear tires have a rubber actual tire on them to provide traction. So you're going to want to make sure it's got the original looking tires on this car if you're looking for one in good shape and looking to spend some big money, which is typically what these cars sell for. I recently saw this car for sale in an eBay auction, And although I was bidding on it, someone else definitely wanted it more than I did. I really just wanted 2 match sets at this point, but hey, maybe I'm getting a little bit selfish and greedy, so apologies for that. I'm just quite a collector when it comes to these things. So the 57 Chevy, that's where we're going to next. I've got a ton of variations here. And first, a little backstory on this car. First released into the Hot Wheels lineup way back in 1977 with this red line version. A very rare car to find in this condition. And this is one where you're going to want to check the axles and the wheels carefully if you're paying top dollar for it, because wheel swaps are fairly easy to do for an experienced Hot Wheel customizer. This is not a wheel swap. Some certain tests you can do to check your wheel swap is just check the movement of the wheels and the axle back and forth. It should be able to move back and forth slightly freely. The wheels shouldn't be stiff. They should match the condition of the car. They shouldn't be scratched or showing any wear at all if the car itself is mint. Likewise, if the car is in played with condition with chips, the wheels shouldn't be in mint condition. They obviously should have some signs of play wear to commensurate with the rest of the car's condition. For this reason, I highly caution online purchases of wheel variations only in any car, unless you really trust your seller, because I have been disappointed in the past buying what I thought were just red line variations that were, upon closer investigation, unfortunately, most likely customs. So that's my little spiel about that, because inevitably I will see a lot of comments in my video section here about variations, which is exactly what I'm about to talk to in great detail here with 2 particular paint jobs of the 57 Chevy. Let's just elevate the camera so we can take a broad overview of the cars we're looking at here. 3 of the cars are black with a white and yellow tampo, various wheels and interiors. Those were all released from these Hot Wheels Chevrolet 5-car gift packs, released 1994 and 1995. Copyright 1993 on the back of those, but there you can see the common black version with a chrome base and the ultra hot wheels on it. So that's the most common version of the black versions here. And we'll talk more in detail in just a second, but part of the overview, these ones with the 57 Chevy and the very nice metallic blue paint, these were all released in 1995 in the series cards. So just following the blue cards were the series cards for 1995, numbers 1 through 1128 or something like that. So we're going to look at some interesting variations there as well. This turquoise aqua blue 57 Chevy with gold plated ultra hots is just entering my collection for the blue card series of my collection. So that would be released around 1993 or 1992. There's other more common wheel variations that we can look at as the blue card series unfolds. And then this piece I know very little about. There was 2 variations for sale from the seller. It's a highly detailed version, very heavy, as a thick metal base, printed in China. Extreme details on this car, right down to the taillights and Real Rider wheels and all the proper chrome and pinstriping. So a cool version. There was one with Goodyear printing on the tires that sold for $40 or $80. It was twice the price I paid for this thing, which was about $40. So I can't remember if it was 20 or 40. But anyways, that one was a nice car. Probably the nicest one of all of these cars I bought, as far as like just to hold 2 of these cars side by side in your hand. But an interesting variation I had not seen, and I'm not really sure where it came from. We've also got a Cop Rods. This was released, I think, about 10 years ago. Cop Rods. I didn't collect this series. There's some very expensive cars in the Cop Rod series. There was also the military rods and the fire car rods or fire rods. But this was a cheap buy, about $5 from a seller that I was buying these other rare Chevys from. And the Boston Police 55 Chevy from the Cop Rods as well. Kind of cool. Not really worth that much. You can get these mint on the packaging still. Both of these cars fairly easily. So the hard vehicles to find were the 83 Chevy Silverados in those collections, among a couple other units. But let's take a closer look at what makes these Chevys of note and why are they entering my collection now. Also, How much did I spend on these things? Let's get the oddballs out of the way for a quick turn and burn. Just check this car out. Beautiful condition all the way around. I almost thought it had been touched up by someone with a very steady hand as far as taillights and headlights goes. But both cars were identical, and it does appear to be tampos. So quite a nice piece. Not sure where that's going to go in my collection, but most likely on my kind of mirrored backed case, display case of rare Hot Wheels I don't know much about. Usually featuring real riders and metal bases as a requirement for that case. And then one last turn and burn on this Boston. Is this the Boston? Nope. This is the Columbus, Ohio police rods or cop rods car. 162. That one was $5. And this is the 55 Chevy Boston Police. Kind of a cool looking car. $5. Okay, so then these ones are from my collection already. These are from the 5-car gift packs that we just looked at. The common version with the Ultra Hot Wheels on it. It's got the black Hot Wheel logo on the yellow window, which forms the same portion as the interior. This is a one-piece interior and windscreen. This car is held together with 2 metal rivets. Those are what the rivets should look like. I'm willing to spend more on it if it's an interior variation, where it's much more difficult to forge this or make a custom and then dupe a buyer such as myself, because you can compare your rivets, and it's very difficult to make a fake rivet look like an original rivet if you're familiar with what they look like and can compare them side by side. So here we have a variation I spent around $100 for. This is in a 5-car pack that typically is worth $5 in total, as this one would be worth, about $1 to $5. There's the 5-spoke variation here with the yellow windows, which is more difficult to find than the Ultra Hot version, but not impossible. Pretty much impossible to find is this blue interior version. And there's the rivets on it, which I'm able to confirm with the more common cars that are identical. So we know this is a true variation piece where the interiors of the cars released 1 year later somehow managed to find their way into the body with the paint job of the car released 1 or 2 years earlier. So some cross-contamination of the parts bins at the Mattel factory in the mid-90s going on here, creating some future expensive variations that are becoming what seems to be increasing in value to collectors. So there you go. Those are those cars. Now let's look at these versions here from 1995. The series card. Series number, I don't know. I don't have that information right on hand. I should have had that for you, but this is a common piece. Most commonly found with either the Ultra Hot Wheels, blue interior, silver Hot Wheels logo on the back window, plastic chrome base, check your rivets, and less commonly found with 5 spokes and 7-spoke wheels, but still not crazy rare, like, $1 to $10 probably to expect to pay for these cars in mint condition. Plate with condition, give them to the kids pretty much. They're not going to be worth a whole lot, unless you've got one with a black interior. This one here is another transitional piece, a variation piece. Which car it shared these windows with was most likely a playset car. So extremely hard to find, probably even harder to find than this version, which I most recently picked up. This one I spent, I think it was about $160 for. Quite a rare piece. So I've got a very complete collection of what should be easy to find mainline paint jobs of 57 and 55 Chevys, but there's some very hard to find ones in this collection. And even though this has set me back several $100s in cars, maybe closer to $1,000 in total, I just love having these 55 and 57 Chevys to share with you guys. Time to take these cars over to the wall with you guys. I'm going to bring this first car here, the 55 Chevy Scorcher. This is going up into my 1980s collection. So we're going down 1980, where I had room for this car. And it's going backwards against the grain of most of the cars in my collection, you see, because this is how I tell myself I need to take a photograph of that particular car. That's another fairly common question I seem to get in the comments, so I'm going to just throw that out there for anyone that still was wondering about that. And over to the serial promotion cars. Boy, it's been a long time since I really didn't know if I would ever add this car to my wall, but then again, I say that from time to time, and patience pays off. So here they go. They're going in under my 1990 promos. This was from the Chevy serial promo. I've got a value listed at $25 for that car. Oh, that'll go under there for now. I don't really usually keep notes under my cars, but I guess it was because I was hunting that car for so long. So that's a really nice piece to add to my international collection of cars. I, being in Canada, these are actually local cars for me, but what my American friends and others around the world would call international, these cars were mostly released in Canada and trickled down into the United States. I mean, the Air France Cargo was released in Canada as well in the blue boxed kind of series, but hard to find. And the Mercedes, the little Renault Turbo, what a cool little casting. This is a very Canadian casting for that one. Very Canadian, and of course these awesome little cola trucks. I've digressed, as you can see. This is what happens all the time when I come down the Hot Wheel room. I might not be making a video when I plan to make one, but I end up getting lost looking at things, sorting things, and planning future videos. So, from the Louis Montedesco collection. Cool. Okay, let's get those other cars onto the wall. Got a couple gift packs to look at as well. Those are going back into storage, but at some point I intend to open these and put the cars all on the wall. Kind of depth perception. Oh my goodness, depth perception problems. These 57 Chevys, I'll just start with one at a time so I don't drop them, but these are all going to the same spot over where those gift packs ultimately will go. And here's some of the other cars in the gift pack. The 75 Corvettes, a whole bunch of those Camaro variations, and of course the 57 Chevy. Got the T-Bird up there. Looks like I got room for the other two black 57s to go up there as well. So that's where they're going. And let's go take one of these blue. Well, that's the rare one. But where's this guy going? Up and over to here. So I got to take a picture of these cars. Better just put that one down before I drop it. This is the series portion of the cars, starting at number 275 to 1,121. This series started in 1995. The packaging looked the same until 1999. And of course, I will get to all these cars in time and hopefully fill in a few more of the spaces. The spaces are where I have a car that I have known to exist or a variation that I need to still purchase. I'll answer another question there for those that are offering up their services to help me complete this collection. I do greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much. I don't have a list compiled, however, of which cars I need. So I don't have a list I can easily just rhyme off to anyone with a collection they're looking to sell or help me out with at this time. So I do appreciate that, and I'm working on that. I don't have that just yet. Now, this gold... Did we even talk about this car up close? It's not focusing. But anyways, it's got the gold Ultra Hot wheels on it. And that one would go... It's often like a game of Where's Waldo for me here, looking at cars. 57 Chevy. There we are. Way down there. There's a whole bunch of them. So, that's where that one's going. As you can see, several very rare variations in there. Looks like I'm one step closer. I might still be missing one car. That was a known car that I was missing, though. So, pretty cool to add that one into the collection. We've got some 5-spokes. These cars... Oh, there, that one's got black windows. That was a rare variation. That was a very hard to find variation. I probably should have pulled that one out today to look at. But we're going to get to these cars in my blue card series, so that's why I didn't. And there you go. All right, well, I think we'll cut the video there, as I'm digressing, and it's getting a little shaky. Don't want to make anyone puke. So stick around for more videos. Stay safe out there. eBay's your friend. Whatever you order on eBay can pretty much decontaminate in the mail, and if it arrives to you too quickly, just leave it in a box somewhere, and then you can let the coronavirus slowly decontaminate until however long you feel is safe, or whatever the government's telling us at that point in time. And you can continue to enjoy your collection and help out others that might need to be freeing up some financing, or just looking to continue selling their collections if that's their business. And help each other out that way, and keep enjoying collecting, keep the companies alive like Hot Wheels and Greenlight. We don't want this all to end because of coronavirus now, do we? So stay safe. Happy hunting.